Namasri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Sachit Sukha Swarupaya Swamine Tapaharini. The topic for today's discussion, you have seen on the screen, the 4 pillars of Hinduism. Modern Hindu doesn't know what is Hinduism. We're all Hindus, but we don't know what Hinduism is. And the educated modern Hindu understands that Hinduism is very complex now. Hinduism, Sanatana Dharma, is a very complex religion. That is the conclusion they are arriving at, because we are not able to find enough time to investigate into the truths that our forefathers have passed it on to us, the great truths, that the great discoveries that they have made. We are not able to comprehend, we are not paying much attention to those truths because we don't know what the subjective truths are. And also, to bring those truths into experience, we have to work hard, we have to do sadhana. As we are not inclined to do that, so better let me not know the theory also. But if you really want to solve the problem of life, also problem of death, above all, you have to come to the teachings of your forefather, to the teachings of rishis, to the teachings of our ancestors. There is no other way. So today we shall look into the 4 pillars of Sanatana Dharma, the eternal religion. What are those 4 pillars? The first is belief in the Vedas. When I say belief in the Vedas, it's not that actually you are asked to believe it, it's a kind of faith. No, not in that sense. If you are a Hindu, if you are a Vaidika, if you are a follower of Sanatana Dharma, you must have faith in the doctrine enunciated by the Vedas. Vedas meant not the teachings of people, not actually imaginary writings of poets or philosophers. Vedas meant revelations. They did not write, they did not jot down. The rishis had some mystical experiences, transcendental experiences. When they transcended the mind, the experience cannot be explained. They tried to put that into word form with great difficulty, but they have not succeeded. They knew that they would not succeed, but to help us to have an intellectual grasp, they did make an attempt to put it in word form. How they explain the ultimate truth? Na iti, na iti. Na chakshurugacchati, na vaggacchati, na monogacchati. The eyes cannot go, the indriyas cannot go, the senses cannot go, the mind cannot comprehend the truth. Na, na, na. Na iti, na iti. So, positively you cannot explain it because that is actually beyond the mind, beyond the comprehension of the mind. It is the source of the mind, the substratum of the mind, adhisthana even for the senses. So that truth cannot be explained in words. It is an experience and it has to be experienced, and experience cannot be explained. So, but just they made an attempt. They made an attempt, that's why they are revelations. They are not actually, they are ideas. So if an idea I can ask you to believe in, but it's not an idea. In experience they try to put in word form, and that's why the language comes like that. Tad ejatita, na ejati, tad dure, tad vantike, it moves not, it's very far, it's very near, all contradictions. Okay? They have explained it in such language and such terms. So when we meant Vedas means revelations. The ultimate truth got revealed to them because of the austerity, because of the penance, and because of the tapas they had practiced. not for a day or two, for lifetimes, with such focus at one pointed mind, with great determination. They had actually explored the universe, subject universe. They wanted to know the mystery of man. You just see of all the riddles that you see in this world, of all the mysteries, the greatest mystery is man himself. There is no mystery which exceeds this mystery. There is no riddle which is more intricate than this riddle. That they have understood it. That's why, who am I? Great question. They put this question to themselves. Am I just the physical body which lasts for a few years and goes off? Am I just the mind which is thought? So some negative thought, some positive thought. Or am I something more than this? What survives death? That was the question that agitated their minds. If death is total annihilation, everything comes to naught. Is it zero, complete zero, death? Or something survives death? What happens to man after death? So this was the great question that had agitated their minds, and they pondered, what is man? They just looked into themselves. We experience the body, we all know, we feel the body, and we feel the thought also. And it's the mind which in fact experiences the body. Body cannot experience itself. So it is mind ultimately. Manasam vidhi manavam. Man means only mind. Body doesn't experience itself. You say, I am the body. Who is saying that? Your mind is saying that your body. So it's the thought which experiences matter. It is thought which experiences the body. But thought also cannot function on its own. It is also not self-luminous, not self-resplendent. Thought needs some other substratum. Thought needs some other support. That support is the soul or consciousness or God. The divine spark in you, the divine element in you, the immortal element in you, the indestructible element in you. That is there. No, but why don't I experience it? To experience that, you have to transcend the present experience. Presently, actually, you are experiencing the mind, and through mind you are experiencing, and just go beyond the mind and you experience that, and you remain as that experience. That is the subject of the subject. Now, mind is the subject, the body becomes the object, and the external physical world also becomes the object. We are experiencing the physical world, we are experiencing the physical body through the mind. But mind is being experienced by something else. For that, actually, we have to transcend the mind. So, Vedas meant revelations. Revelations, the ultimate truth actually got revealed to those rishis. That's why the Apta Vakya, you cannot question them. If you question the authority of the Vedas, you are not a Hindu. You are a non-Hindu. At the same time, not that you are a disbeliever. Not in that sense. So, you are a non-Hindu if you question the authority of the Vedas. Our understanding of the Vedas is, Vedas meant revelations. The rishis actually invested phenomenal amount of time and energy. And with the sharpest of the focus and the sharpest of the intellect, they had cracked the mystery of the existence. And so they gave those truths to us. So Vedas are the ultimate authority. They called Shruti. Puranas and Itihasas, and Dharmasastra, they all come under as Smruti. And Vivekananda Swamiji clearly says again and again, if there is a conflict between Shruti and Shruti, mostly there won't be any conflict. There is no conflict as far as I go, as I understand. The same thing, Vedas actually, they gave the principles. So the details actually you find in Puranas. There is no contradiction between Shruti and Smruti in that way. But it is difficult to understand these abstract principles which are mentioned in the Vedas, because I just mentioned the language is like that. Tad ejati tad najati tad dure tad vantike, it moves not. Okay, it's very far, it's very near. You will find it difficult to understand these abstract truths. And so the method, the details are actually, they are given in Puranas. So that even an average man of average intellect also can grasp these ideas. So if there is a conflict between Shruti and Shruti, you must only take the authority of the Shruti, that is the authority of the Vedas, that is final. So the word Veda, if you just look into this, Vid in Sanskrit, it comes from Vid Dhatu. Vid means to know. To know what? To know the truth, to know the ultimate. We all want to know, we all have knowledge. We just want to know something about the universe. We have some grasp, some understanding about the physical universe, about our own nature. But our understanding is not the ultimate understanding. We have not known the truth as yet. If you know the truth, there should not be suffering for you. If you say that actually I know the truth, I am suffering, is contradiction. That means you don't know the truth. Why should we know the truth? Why should we long to know the truth? Why should we have a desire to know the truth? Because that solves all our problems once for all, for good. Because that which is the ultimate, that which doesn't change with the time, that which is the substratum of this world of name and form, that which has projected this world of name and form, that which has conceived this world of name and form, that is the ultimate truth. Why should you know that? If you know that, your mystery is solved. The mystery of death is solved for you. The mystery of reincarnation is solved for you. The mystery of suffering is solved for you. Why there is suffering? We all have this question in mind, right? So this existence is very brief existence, this physical existence. There must be something, beyond death. What survives death? That was the question that agitated their minds, and then they investigated into that mystery of existence and they found the truth. That's why Vedas are the ultimate authority. Ved means with, from the vid dhatu, that is to know the ultimate truth. Because they talk about the ultimate truth only. That's why they are the highest authority as far as Hindus are concerned. As far as we are concerned, Vedas are the ultimate authority. They are also called the Shruti, because through hearing, in the beginning actually they didn't write it down. They passed it on from Guru to Shishya. It has come through parampara of listening. They would memorize, they would by heart. So those mantras have come like that, a oral tradition. Not actually, the written tradition was not there. Written tradition came much later, when actually man's memory was falling down. So because of so much of, engagement with the external world, and the dharana, the capacity to retain it in the memory, when it was going down, then they thought actually it would be better actually to put it on paper. Put it on paper means in those days, palm leaves are probably the copper leaves. So they jotted it down, and that's why actually we have got this inheritance. So Vedas are the ultimate authority. They are the revelations. They are also called apaurusheya. Apaurusheya means not created by a man. How can a book be not created by man? A book must have an author, right? So there is a book and you say that there is no author to this book. Can you say? But with regard to Vedas, they say it is apaurusheya, not created by man. Not created by man in the sense that not written by man. Because when they attained to the truth, they became Brahman. Brahmavit Brahmaiva Bhavati. So they are called actually inspiration. They are called actually the breath of the Lord. So Lord actually revealed the secret to these people, and they also became the Lord, on par with the Lord. Brahmavit Brahmaiva Bhavati, Upanishad says. And so, after experiencing the truth, they actually, so word is not as important as the experience as such. As experience is the ultimate Brahman, it is direct actually revelation of God. So in that sense, actually, they are apaurusheya, not created by human source. There is no human source for that, in that sense. Because they came to know the truth, they experienced the truth, and they transcended the mundane existence. They became actually superhuman in the sense they became gods. So they became Brahman, and so they are apaurusheya. And also, apaurusheya, it can be said, because it's not a single person's revelation. A galaxy of sages and saints, not one or two, maybe probably some hundreds of sages and saints, they had experienced the truth. Nobody was interested in their name, because they dissolved their individuality completely in the absolute, in the impersonal. And so they had no desire, though let me become the author. And afterwards, actually, these thoughts will be read by future generations, that they would be curious to know who is the author of this book. No such thing, because they had experienced the truth, all their desires were totally fulfilled. They had not even little trace of desire for popularity or name and fame. Okay, my name should survive. Post-death, people should remember me. No such thing, because this is why we are asked to know the truth. Because once you know the truth, you are totally satisfied and totally fulfilled. You will not have any desire. You will not have a desire for name and fame also. My desire, my name should be perpetuated. Because they have attained to that impersonal principle. And so they never wanted authorship for that I am the author of this. Simply they felt like actually it would be useful for future generations, and then they transmitted to disciples. And the disciples also had attained Brahmajnana, and they transmitted in turn that knowledge to their disciples. And through a holy succession of Guru Shishya Parampara, we have got these truths. This way they are called apaurusheya. They are the ultimate authority with regard to Hinduism. There is no other scripture which far exceeds Vedas. And Mahabharata, Ramayana, Itihasas and the Puranas, they are all actually explanations of the same Vedas. Mahabharata is called Panchama Veda. So, Panchama Veda says whatever that is there in the four Vedas, Chatur Vedas, whatever that is there only elaborately explained through the concept of dharma, how to attain to the truth that's mentioned in the Vedas. So, Vedic Rishis have experienced the truth. Okay, they have known it by experience, the ultimate truth. So, if you have to get to the truth, what you have to do, what kind of life you have to lead, how you have to conduct yourself. Course, that is dharma. A way of conduct. Dharma means a way of conduct. If you conduct yourself in this way, if you conduct yourself in this manner, in this particular manner, if you follow dharma, if you adjust your life to in a particular way, if you conduct yourself in the right manner, the righteousness, the equivalent word in English is righteousness for dharma, you would attain to those truths. So the elaborate explanations are given in all Puranas and Itihasas and subsequent Dharma Shastras to reach the truth that is mentioned in the Vedas. We have already discussed that Vedas, there are two parts, Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda. A lion's share, majority of the Vedas is about Karma Kanda. A small portion is Upanishadic portion, that is Jnana Kanda. In the beginning they had a desire, the people, how the search began, with a desire to go to heaven. What happens after death? So if I do good actions in this birth, and if I please gods, the deities who are above, and they would be pleased with my action of this birth, and then they would reward me when I die. So they imagined that actually there is a heaven up in the sky, and there actually I go after death, my soul goes there, I will get a resplendent body, and I will enjoy the fruits of my good actions. But later on, they pondered, is it a valid conclusion? Is it that we go to heaven and enjoy things? Okay, we go to heaven and enjoy things. How long you will enjoy things? For a certain period of time you enjoy things, and afterwards you exhaust your good karma. We cannot do infinite good karma, right? Because our life is finite, right? This is a definite period of time, 70 years, 80 years, at the most you live for 100 years. 100 years, how much of karma you can do, how much of good karma you can do. That much only you will be able to enjoy the fruits of action of the period that you have performed. And after that, again, you will have to come back to this earth, to the relative world. So is there any way to come out of this cycle of transmigration? When you are born, you have to die for sure. Jatasya dhruva mrityu dhruvam janma mritasya cha. When you are actually dead, again you will be reborn. So this is a cycle. Anything that is cyclical, actually, if you just carefully understand and analyze, is stifling. It's not freedom. It is not freedom. Mukti means there is no such cycle. Any motion that is cyclical, actually, is a stifling motion. You are not free. So the great desire arose in their minds. So when I am embodied, actually, one day I have to die. That's a painful thing. When I die again, actually, I will be reborn. Again, you reborn means again you get an embodiment. Again, actually, karmas you perform. Some good karma, some bad karma, some pressure and some pain. So this is actually alternating. So is there any way where I can have only happiness, only peace, the ultimate ananda? And then they have come to the experience. After experiencing the truth, they have declared that beyond the psyche, beyond the mind, beyond the thought, there is spirit, there is soul, there is that ultimate consciousness, which is by nature Ananda. Ananda o Brahmeti. One of the definitions that they give for Brahma, for God, is Ananda. He is by nature Ananda. Then why he has taken up all these embodiments? Just for play, just for Leela. There is no other better explanation can be given for that. So you won't get actually better explanation than this. So if you want more satisfactory explanation, there is no such explanation possible. Why did God create the world? The absolute you cannot question. Okay? We use the word absolute for God. When you use the word absolute for God, and again you say, why did he create the world? It's meaningless. Your question is meaningless. That means he is not the absolute. He can't do anything that he wishes. He is answerable to us. He has to explain. He has given an explanation to us. No. So he is the absolute. But we are in Maya now, we are in bondage, feel the bondage. How intensely you feel the bondage, and that depends how eagerly you want to know the truth. If you feel the bondage terribly, if you just reflect the nature of existence, you will feel it. Buddha actually saw the whole world as if on a fire, and Vivekananda saw it like that. In the same way, all the prophets, all the sages and saints, they saw the world, they're full of suffering because of their extremely soft heart. They were very kind and compassionate. They could feel others' suffering, and others' suffering became their suffering. And then they saw a whole world as full of suffering. And is there a way to come out of this suffering? Why did God create a world where there is so much of suffering? Has he done an imperfect world? Why he has created the world in such a way? These were the questions that agitated them, and then they investigated into the ultimate truth. And then they found out that beyond the psychological and beyond the physical lies the truth, the reality, the real existence. The present existence is a slip, it is a fall. It is a degraded state, degenerated state. From this degenerated state to degraded state, we have to go back. We have to trace our steps back to the truth from which we have come. From that infinite realm, we have slipped into the finite. into the relative, from the relative to the absolute, from the finite to the infinite. We should aspire and we should go there. And once you attain to that, there is no more suffering because there is no more rebirth. Esha brahmi stitih partanainam praptya vimuhyati. Stitvasya antakalepi brahma nirvanam uchati. That state. And Buddha also told when his disciples were weeping before his death actually, Buddha is not a person. Have you not understood this? Buddha is a state. Buddha will not die. The person will die, but the Buddha will not die. Buddha is not a person. The bodies will come and go. That is actually the law of the nature. But Buddha, real Buddha is state. Real Buddha is consciousness. Real Buddha is the ultimate consciousness, the infinite reality. That will never die. That is eternal. So he asked the disciples, why are you weeping actually? I am not going anywhere because I am a state. You attain to that state. That state actually is a birthright. Every individual, we are all made in the image of God means that. The divine spark is in every one of us. Mamai vamsho jivaloke jivabhuta sanatana. He says, Lord actually, I have entered into all the beings. So we are all part of God in that way. Only thing is, we are not experiencing God in full measure because the mind is obstructing. The mind which is filled with desires is obstructing our ultimate experience. And drop the mind, drop the desire, drop the I or ego sense. And you are in that absolute. And to go back to the absolute is the goal. That should be the aspiration. That should be the objective. How intensely you long for, it depends upon the vairagya that you have and how much of your buddhi or intellect that God has endowed you with you are using. So if you see that there is a lot of happiness in this world and there are so many things for me to enjoy, then actually still you are in delusion. You are in maya and you have not had your share of misery. Okay, but nature will give blows. That is the nature. It's good. Blows are also good because they help us develop vairagya and dispassion and help us travel towards the truth. If you understand that, actually you will not get affected by the sufferings of the world. Otherwise, why the suffering is there? You will get into depression, as many of the people in the world today, because they are not able to see beyond a few steps. Why this misery is coming this way? You just ponder when there is misery, because we are all human beings. God has given us buddhi. God has given us intellect. So suffering is there in the world. Like we all know that today we experience it. You don't have to tell this to modern man. Everybody understands this. But there is a reason for that suffering also. That suffering actually is helping us to move towards the truth. Because asking us to ponder what is the nature of existence. And then you will come to know that you are in bondage. Because you have got the mind, the suffering is coming. The mind is actually an inferior modification of consciousness. It is not the truth. The real truth is beyond mind. And so then how to transcend the mind? The question arises in you. And then you will make some effort to move in that direction. If you attain in this birth, it's great. If you don't attain also, you will not lose anything, because the sadhana that you have performed will be carried forward, and that will come with you the next birth and next birth. You know, Buddha actually had around 40 to 50 births. He was born as a monk. In those births also, he was trying to perfect himself. He was a sannyasi, but he couldn't attain to the truth. As a sannyasi, before that, not that only when he was born as Siddhartha, he had become a sannyasi. In some of his previous births also, he was a sannyasi. But still actually didn't get the truth because he tried but he couldn't. So it doesn't matter how much you attain, but if you use actually, you don't have to wait for those many births. Everybody has to wait for those many births. Is it that actually you can't get to the truth that easily? Not like that. If you use your discrimination correctly, actually, you may get in this birth itself because you will get thoroughly disgusted with the present existence. But it's not again actually. Swamiji again and again would say, Vedanta is not a philosophy of pessimism. It is neither optimistic nor pessimistic. It is a statement of fact. The way things are. The way things are. It's not a pessimistic religion by any way. Okay? But so in this country today, if you preach vairagya and people think that actually it's a pessimistic way, it's a pessimistic religion. How will you develop? How will you progress if everybody becomes a man of renunciation or a woman of renunciation? If everybody takes to the path of renunciation, how the progress will happen? They never cared, or rishis never cared for progress. They know that all this progress is humbug. Whatever you do, but still you will not be able to make yourself happy. Any amount of manipulation of matter, that's what we are doing. 5,000 years of history are actually just post-industrial revolution. Let us say 300 or 400 history of modern man is nothing but manipulation of matter. We have the hope in the hope. Of course, some comfort and some convenience has come, but it has not really enhanced the happiness as such. The quantum of happiness has not increased and it will not increase. That is the law. God has designed nature in such a way. So all your efforts in that way are in vain because you will not be able to enhance the quantum of happiness. Whatever you made in this world, that is fixed. The quantum of happiness and unhappiness that you would get is fixed. So then what is the point in investing your time and energies here? Just actually do spiritual sadhana and get out of this cycle, get out of this bondage, get out of this transmigratory cycle of life and death. So this is the first thing, that we have to have belief in the Vedas. This is one pillar, the first pillar. That's called Shruti. The Shrutis are the basis for all other subsequent texts of Sanatana Dharma. So you cannot question the authority of the Vedas. If you question the authority of the Vedas, you are not a Hindu. There are orthodox systems and heterodox systems, and I will not cover that in this class, and next class or after 2 weeks we will try. There are orthodox systems and heterodox systems. All the Shad Darsanas you have heard, 6 systems of Indian philosophy: Purva Mimamsa, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, Yoga, and Uttara Mimamsa. These are the 6 systems of Indian philosophy. And Vedas talk about actually Uttara Mimamsa or Vedanta. Uttara Mimamsa is two. Vedanta, Uttara Mimamsa are one and the same. So we are all actually Uttara Mimamsakas. So all other actually systems of philosophy have helped actually for this Purva Mimamsa, Uttara Mimamsa to take the final shape. That is the last word in religion. So Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita and all our Puranas, they contain only about Uttara Mimamsa, and that is the highest truths of Vedanta. Again, in Uttara Mimamsa, we have Dvaitins, we have dualists, we have qualified monis or Vishishtadvaitins, or Advaitins or monis. The 6 systems of philosophy we will take up in some other class. So, Vedas actually are the ultimate authority. This is the first thing. This is the first pillar. The second pillar is, if you are a Hindu, if you are a follower of Sanatana Dharma, you must believe in the existence of the soul and the immortality and indestructibility of the soul. When I say that you must believe in, it is not just a belief of the Semitic religions, where somebody has said it, so you have to believe. It's not like that. That is the truth about your being. It is not in your experience as yet, but it is the absolute truth. So where is soul? I don't see, I don't perceive it. You don't perceive it because you are dwelling at the level of psyche, at the level of mind. You transcend it and you will experience that. And also, they have explored this as a science. So the Vedic Rishis were subject to scientists. That we have discussed that here so many times. Subject to scientists means they have explored this dimension of your personality. And just to give you to help you understand where is the soul. When we go to sleep, every day we understand that we don't exist as mind in deep sleep. If there is mind, then actually we have to experience the physical world also in sleep. In deep sleep, as we don't experience the physical world, we don't experience the mind, they have come to the conclusion that mind is not the real source of our existence. Only when you wake up, actually mind comes, and with the mind actually the world comes and you experience the body. This just everyday experience is a proof that there is something more than the mind. So you don't have to actually believe in anything. Somebody has said that's why I'm believing in soul. It's not like that. You are primarily the soul. And that soul actually has taken up 2 covers. One is the mind and another is the physical body. You exist because of soul. These 2 covers. So death is actually, this cover is going away and you will take up another cover. So this soul actually is the ultimate. And then many objections were raised against this. The Swamiji says that from where the soul has come. See, this question again is absurd. Soul is actually, when you say talk, is indivisible. That's why actually indestructible. Individual means what? Individed. You cannot divide the particular thing. The soul is actually indivisible. Because it is indivisible, it is infinite. Because it is indivisible, it is infinite. Because it is infinite and is not made of parts, it doesn't decay with time, and it is eternal. It is without beginning and without end. So consciousness as soul is without beginning and without end. So what is the difference between actually then me, the soul that is existing in me, and the soul, the universal soul? A part of the consciousness actually has got separated, as it were, taking up the upadhis, namely the body and mind. You are Paramatman. We are all actually the supreme consciousness only. Somehow the supreme consciousness actually embodied, took up a physical form, took up little 5 elements, little matter, and limiting itself, as it were. It is not the real limitation, it's only a superimposition. It appears to be limited, but the soul can never be really limited. But it feels as if it is limited because of the identification with the body and mind. Because of the identification, wrong identification. Why did that happen? Again, law of karma you need to bring in. So again, actually it is play, it is leela. So this indestructibility of the soul, again, it's not a belief in that sense. The soul actually, because it is infinite, because it is subtler than the subtlest, because it's incorporeal, not made of parts, so it is infinite. But that infinite actually has taken up a form, has taken up an embodiment, has taken up the mind and the body as two covers, and it is working itself through these two. And so, through sadhana, you will get a better embodiment, and better embodiment. And a time will come, maybe in a future embodiment, where you will get thoroughly disgusted with the bondage that you are in. And how long actually I have to take up these bodies and these embodiments? Let me get rid of all these. Let me get away with this once for all. Once you develop that kind of dispassion, you will do sadhana and you will experience it for yourself. Then you will become Jivan Mukta. And you have attained mukti or liberation. And thereafter, there is no rebirth. And this individual soul merges into the universal soul. This individual spirit merges into the universal spirit. And that is the state that we are all aspiring for, consciously or unconsciously. A vast majority of population actually is struggling unconsciously. That's the reason there is so much of suffering. If you can make you struggle conscious, it doesn't take much time to reach the truth. Then we have the doubt actually, we all have come to the conclusion that this world is meant for our pleasure. Not at all. This world is not meant for our pleasure. In fact, to entice us, it is a trap. The universe is a frivolous and irrational and deceptive play of a mischievous intelligence called God. What is the universe? Why did God create the world? I already told that it's a leela or play. The universe is a frivolous and irrational and deceptive play of a mischievous intelligence called God. Why I am using the word mischievous intelligence? Because he wants to sport with himself. That's why he has projected out of himself. Because he has projected out of himself, the qualities of God, our Father, are there with us also. Because he is immortal, he is eternal, he is indestructible. We are also immortal, we are also eternal, we are also indestructible. That is the hope. You can never die. The soul within you is always immortal, whether you are aware of it or whether you are not aware of it. Whether it is in your experience or not in your experience. Death is only karma. Actually, another body you will get. So there is nothing to worry as such. That will give you tremendous courage, right? You will become fearless. But if you understand this. But if you are identified with the body intensely, okay, if your thirst for life is too strong, the death frightens you automatically. That's why in our culture, again and again, we are told to develop renunciation. Renunciation is life, renunciation is immortality. Renunciation takes you towards immortality. But that's why it's not a pessimistic doctrine. They ask you to develop renunciation because renunciation gives you strength. Renunciation makes you fearless and renunciation makes you immortal. What else actually you can aspire for in this world when something which makes you immortal? For that actually you should not identify with the body. But today our understanding is that we have identified with the body and the external world is meant for our pleasure and for our enjoyment. And so we are manipulating it as best as we can. But that is not that. This is called pravrutti. You will struggle in this way for some time and afterwards actually you will be fed up with this. Okay, dispassion will dawn on you. But if you use your buddhi and intellect, if you apply the buddhi, the intellect, you will understand this world is hollow, as Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa would say. This is hog plum. Hog plum. It has only skin and a stone. Okay, seed which is like stone. There is no pulp in it, there is no essence in it, there is no true joy in it. However hard you might try, okay, you will get only a trace, a drop of happiness. So it's not a pessimistic idea. No sage actually told anything pessimistic. This is a trap that they want to tell us. So if you take interest in the world, you will not be able to perceive God. And you must understand this is a deceptive play of the Lord, and so then it is easy for you to develop dispassion. When you have that conclusion, when you have that understanding, you will not take much interest in the world. If you don't take interest in the world, where else you will put your mind? In God. Okay, you will think about God day and night. Because you have taken too much of interest in the world. And we have forgotten God, we are not able to see God. And the Lord says, okay, if you are happy with my creation, go ahead, My son, he will say, okay, continue. Nature will give us blows. We will learn through our experience and how fast. All these sages and saints come us only to speed up the process of evolution. We are evolving for sure, but the process of evolution has become very slow, as it were. Evolution itself is a slow process, but it has become abysmally slow. So, to fast pace the evolution, to speed up the evolution, to help man evolve fast into God, these incarnations, these sages and these messengers of God, they come into our midst and they preach that this world is actually the whole world, there is no true happiness here. Develop this passion and long for God, long for God, long for God, and have this desire to know the truth. This human embodiment is the superior and the super embodiment, and there is no other instrument which is superior to this if you really want to know the truth. So, the indestructibility of the soul, and the soul is infinite by nature, soul is not created by anything, because soul is incorporeal, it's not made of parts, though it is dwelling in parts now. And because it is incorporeal, it is all-pervading, so it is infinite. So that infinite actually is the reality about a personality, though it is not our perception or experiences yet, but that is the truth of our being. So if you are a follower of Sanatana Dharma, if you are a follower of Hinduism, you must believe in the existence of the soul. All the traditional systems of Hindu philosophy, whether the dualists, Advaitins, or Vishishtadvaitins, qualified monis, or Advaitins, monis, they all believe in the existence of soul. Nobody has denied soul. It exists, but they have different ideas and different understanding. How you can perceive soul, how you can experience the soul. Dualists say that you are eternally separate from God, the ultimate consciousness. God is soul, you are also soul. God is Parabrahman, is Paramatma, is the supreme soul, I am individual soul. If you do sadhana, if you cultivate bhakti towards the Lord, towards His lotus feet, and you will attain to His abode, and there you will be separate from God, but you will be in the company of God. And because you are in the company of God, actually you will never suffer. That is the idea of dualists. But you need to understand that this Dvaitins, Vishishtadvaitins and Advaitins, dualists, qualified monis and monis, all these three systems of philosophy, dualism, Vishishtadvaita, qualified monism and monism, they are not actually contradictory to each other. They are actually stepping stone. One leads to the other. They are complementary to each other. So basically we are all dualists because we have identified with the body, we are not experiencing the truth, we are not experiencing the ultimate consciousness, we worship the Lord through images and forms. That means what? God is separate and we are separate. That's the reason actually Bhakta and Bhagavan are there. As long as Bhakta and Bhagavan are separate, you are dualist only. When you become one with Bhagavan in experience, in Advaita, in ecstasy, in Nirvana, then actually there is no true. But now you to say that there is no true, I am an Advaitin, it doesn't make sense. You are not an Advaitin. Maybe intellectually you give your consent to Advaita philosophy. Intellectually you may assent to that philosophy because that is the ultimate for sure. But it is not in our experience because we feel differentiation, we feel duality. We see the name and form, the variety, the multitude. As long as you have this perception, you are dualist only. As long as you have trace of identification with the body, you are a dualist only. So whether they are dualists or qualified monis or monis, Advaitins, everybody believes in the existence of the soul. And all these philosophies are based on that only. How to reach that soul, how to bring that soul into experience. In Vishishtadvaita, they talk about actually contraction and expansion. If you do a bad action, your soul contracts as it were. You will go away from God as it were. If you do a good action, actually your soul expands as it were and you will proceed towards God. And Swamiji also says, what is a good action, what is a bad action? Any action that takes you towards God is a good action. And any action that takes you away from truth or God actually is a bad action. That is the only thing. That is the only definition that you need to apply. The action that I am performing, will it help me actually to proceed towards the truth? If it helps, actually good action. If it doesn't help you to proceed towards the truth, actually it's a bad action. The simple definition you apply and then adjust your action. But don't just follow your instinct, don't just follow your tendencies. Of samskaras, there are some good samskaras and bad samskaras for everybody. God has given us the intellect. You have to use that intellect and we should not allow the bad samskara or bad tendency to manifest. We just give actually more opportunity for the good tendencies to find expression. Consciously we have to do that. That's why actually human life becomes more beautiful than in animal life. In animal life it is instinct. Animal has no capacity to check its instinct. It just flows out of it. It just finds expression. It is helpless. But we can put a full stop. We can check. Is it a good impulse? Can I give an expression to this? If I give an expression to this impulse, will it hurt somebody? You can discriminate. You can adjust your action. You don't have to follow the tendencies, the samskaras. Those samskaras are always a mixed bag, some good and some bad. And so through that process of discrimination, as you keep allowing only the good tendency to find expression, over a period of time, it becomes your second nature. After some struggle, after some time, only the good actually will find expression, because actually bad tendencies, you are filtering at every point of time. And because of that, expressing the good tendencies or involving in good actions becomes your second nature. Good action proceeds out of you effortlessly after a point of time. But in the beginning, you have to struggle. So in Vishishta Advaita, actually in qualified monism, the idea is expansion and contraction of the soul. If you do a good action, actually, your soul expands. If you do a bad action, your soul contracts. This is in brief, I'm not elaborating as there is no time. In monism, in Advaita, they don't use this language. Contraction and expansion of the soul, they don't talk. Soul actually doesn't get contracted, doesn't get expanded. Soul is soul, let's say. Its glory doesn't diminish. The only thing is you have a layer of ignorance. Just as a lamp is covered, with a glass that is covered with black soot. The lamp, inside the lantern, the lamp is burning normally only. But you don't see the full light because the glass is, covered with black soot. The black soot actually blocks the radiance, blocks the light from coming out. In the same way, the soul actually doesn't find its full expression, as it were. You don't see the brilliance of the soul because there is a layer of ignorance. That is Maya, they call it. And thicker the layer of Maya, and actually dimmer the expression of the soul. Dimmer, the brightness of the soul will be dim. And if the layer is very thin, let's say the glass is very clean, and the full light you will be able to see. And if the layer is very thin, and if you have very little desire or no desire, so you will be able to perceive the glory of the Atman, the radiance of the Atman more clearly. This is how actually the Advaitins say. There are all different kinds of understanding how actually the soul can be experienced, how the soul can be perfected, but they are not contradictory to each other. You can believe all these, and one leads to the other. As you evolve and as you progress further on the path of spirituality, you will understand monism better, but that is the last word in religion, that everything is one. All this duality, all the differentiation that you see is because of ignorance. So this is the second doctrine, that is actually existence of the soul and belief in the existence of the soul, that soul is the ultimate reality about a personality and about a being. First, it is Vedas, the first pillar. The second pillar is existence of the soul. And the third is law of karma. Law of karma is a beautiful theory, because just to explain the world, to explain the suffering that the people experience. God has created the world that we all understand, we know it. Okay, many people believe it, it's fine. It doesn't matter. We have not done the world, somebody else has done that. That somebody is God, okay. But some people are suffering more, some people are suffering less. Some people are, because you have to see the whole world and whole life, because you can't just come to conclusions. But today, modern generation, I am suffering more than my neighbor. Everybody has this understanding. My neighbor is suffering less and he is leading a comfortable life. All the suffering God has given me only, okay. So, how do you explain? Some are experiencing more misery and some are experiencing less misery. Some are born in propitious circumstances, some are born in, inauspicious circumstances, very difficult circumstances. They are struggling to come up in life, but that is not happening. So, they are not well endowed that you understand by looking at them, by looking at their fate. Then how do you explain? If it is all God's creation, then you must come to the conclusion that God must be a sad being, bad being. God must be a sadist. That God is a diabolical God, right? For some he gives more, for some he gives less. What kind of God is? You don't like such a God, right? Do you want a diabolical God? Do you want a partial God? When we talk about God, our idea of God is all merciful. He is just. He is not partial. If he is partial, actually he is just like me, right? As a human being, I am partial. How can God be partial? Then how can he become a God? So you cannot imagine an immoral or a partial God, or a diabolical God, a sadist God, a wicked God. So then how do you explain the suffering? Your own karma. The other day, actually, one of the doctor's houses we went, his brother's daughter, actually, 7 months old baby, suffering from leukemia. They have been giving treatment for the last, I think, 2 years. Around 450 lakhs they spent on that baby, 7-month-old baby. And why the baby is suffering? You cannot give a rational explanation that the baby did some bad action. She was 7 months old. In this birth, she didn't do anything. No bad action proceeded out of it. She has not even opened her eyes fully. Her indriyas have not opened. And how do you account for the suffering? No, actually, baby is suffering because of parents' action. No, why baby should suffer for parents' action? So you don't get a rational explanation for that. So our rishis have found that in your previous embodiment, in your previous existence, consciously you did action, and the result of that action, the fruit of that action will follow with you into this birth. You will have to suffer the consequences of your own actions. Actions, the causes you are not able to see, but the effect actually you are groaning. You say that the effect I am not able to bear the effect, but there is a cause. That cause is your own making, it's not God's making. The cause is your own making, it's not God's making. This is the beauty about law of karma. Okay, anyway, whatever that is in store for me, whatever bad actions I performed in my past life, I don't see those causes. But those causes will surely fructify and they will bring the effects and I'll have to experience them. There is no denying of that. But for the tomorrow, actually, it depends upon you. The present is not in your hands, but the future in your hands. You can adjust your action in the present and actually you can have a glorious future. You can even get mukti completely. You can get out of the cycle itself. So you don't have to worry on that, though, because I am suffering because of my past action. Again, the law of karma offers a rational explanation for our suffering so that you don't blame anybody else in the world. You take the whole blame upon yourself. You take full responsibility for yourself and then actually you adjust your action in the present. It gives great hope. It's not again actually not that okay, anyway I'm suffering because I did past action. I cannot undo this. So what else? I'm helpless. You don't have to feel helpless. You just adjust the present action. Or you can aspire for mukti. Okay, I don't want. No cause, no effect. You want to go beyond the cycle of causation. Beyond cause and effect. I don't want to be a slave. I don't want to be in the circle of cause and effect. Some good action, some bad action. I just want to get out of the cycle. You can as well get out of the cycle itself by aspiring for nirvana, by aspiring for jivan mukti. And you have the right. And in this birth itself, you can attain to that. So this is the third doctrine, law of karma. And the fourth and the final doctrine is reincarnation. Reincarnation, the fourth pillar. The first pillar is Vedas. The second pillar is immortality and indestructibility of the soul. The third pillar is law of karma. It's only there in Sanatana Dharma. And the fourth pillar is, on which Sanatana Dharma stands, Hinduism stands, is reincarnation. Metempsychosis, there is another name for it. Metempsychosis in theology. This is reincarnation means punarjanma in Sanskrit. That also gives a lot of hope. Okay, you are not aspiring for mukti. I don't understand what it is. I don't understand freedom. I have many desires. I want to enjoy this world as much as I want till I get satiated with it. Fine. Even if you are a pure materialist also, it gives a lot of hope. How? All the desires that you are not able to satisfy in this birth, you struggle, but you will not be able to fulfill all your desires. But there is nothing to worry for you. Where your desire is carried forward to the next birth, you will get another embodiment. Okay? And through that embodiment, you will strive again. And in that birth also, if you fail to fulfill your desires, another birth will come. What is the worry? And why should you feel suffering at all, I'm saying? I don't understand God. I don't understand metaphysics. I don't want to become, enlightened. There are so many desires. There are so many people who are wealthy. They are enjoying life so much. I don't have money. That's why I'm not able to enjoy as much as I want. I won't have money. There's no hope that I will get all that money I want in this birth. Fine. One more birth you try. Next birth you will become a billionaire. So what is there for you to worry? Why would you get disappointed, I am saying? Your life is a continuous stream. Unless and until you consciously long to come out of the cycle, you will get embodiments. There's a reincarnation, punarjanma. You don't have to worry. You don't have to take so much of suffering. But today the suffering is there because you have forgotten that. Though we are Hindus, we are namesake Hindus. We have forgotten the reincarnation also. So why otherwise somebody would get into depression? Just me. Because I have lost everything. I have become a failure. There is no hope for me. That is the idea, right? That negative idea only will push you into depression. Don't worry, actually another birth is there. You strive as much as you can in this birth. Give up this embodiment and take up another embodiment. All your desires will be fulfilled at one point of time. Okay, if you use your discrimination, no, there is no real happiness in this world, I don't want it, that's okay, good thing. You don't understand that also, you don't want to use discrimination. You have intense longing for the pleasures of this that the world has to offer. You experience, and after experience, you will get satiety and you will be disappointed with it, and then you will come back to the path of spirituality. It's okay. So this reincarnation offers tremendous hope. You never will die. Okay? You will get another birth. Even today also, this pandemic, people are so afraid. What is there to be afraid of? This embodiment will go. Whether corona or no corona, will die, yes or no. Right? Anybody, right? Little, okay. Even 80, even 85, 90 years also, the thirst for life is so strong. The stronger the thirst for life, the greater the fear of death. Okay. But at least believe in reincarnation. This body has become senile, this body has become decrepit, this body has become weak. I'll give up this weak and decrepit embodiment. It is actually freaking, it's making all, creaking sounds. So let me get out of this embodiment and I'll get another embodiment. Again, it is not a belief, I want to tell you. Again, it's not a belief. Sanatana Dharma doesn't ask you to believe in anything. These are all the scientific discoveries made by our rishis. These discoveries, ultimate discoveries about the subject of science. Soul is eternal, soul is indestructible. So, as the individual has not fulfilled all his desires, he has still actually desires. The soul, according to the karmas that you have performed in this birth, will bring an embodiment for you. A human embodiment. In human embodiment also, there is a lot of variation. You may be born in a rich family, you may be born in a cultured family, you may be born in propitious circumstances because you have performed a lot of good karma in this birth. So different people believed in different things, but we, Punarjanma actually, and Buddhism believes in it, and Hinduism believes in it. These are all the 4 pillars on which Sanatana Dharma is based. You just see ancient Egyptians, for them actually soul is a double. How they built pyramids 4,500 years back, and there was no engineering, and there were no cranes available. They have built a structure which is 140 meters tall. Can you believe? 4,500 years back. Absolutely no engineering, no cranes, no transport available. Just through granite and limestone, they built a structure 140 meters high. One of the 7 wonders of the world. Just believe. The Egyptians believed that the soul and the body are inseparable eternally. When a person dies, if you don't preserve that body, the soul also will die. So they used to bury first actually in the deserts, Egyptian deserts, because the air is dry there is no humidity. The bodies would get preserved for a long time. But anyway, afterwards the body would get destroyed because bacterial activity is there, though the air is very dry. And then they have invented this mummification. And then they have understood that through mummification, you can preserve the body for eternity. Their idea is that every day after death, the soul actually wanders all around the world. And then by night, actually, it comes to the corpse. It comes to the dead body. And the soul will be always in misery. It wants to eat, it wants to drink, it wants to take the embodiment again, it wants to enjoy the pleasures of the world. Always in agony, the soul is. So if any part of this body is damaged, the part corresponding to that part, the soul also will get damaged. You see the contradiction. They are using the word soul and again they are talking about parts. Physical body has parts. How the soul can have parts? Soul is incorporeal. Soul cannot have parts. Soul is spirit, but they don't have that much of understanding. Because they couldn't go that far. Their intellect could not reach that point. And so, just as you have parts, the soul also will have parts. The subtle body also will have parts. And their understanding is that if any part of this corpse, if it gets destroyed, the part corresponding to that actually of the soul also would get destroyed. And so, to preserve the body, the best possible way you have to preserve the body, that's why they invented this mummification. And then they said every day, the night, the soul will come back to the corpse, and there actually it will feel the suffering. It will have the desire to eat and desire to drink, but all those desires won't get satisfied. But there's no solution, you see, how terrible. And that belief actually made them construct such huge structures like pyramids. But whereas Greeks, they believed in reincarnation, they have made this as a cornerstone of their philosophy. And a small section of intellectual Egyptians also believed in reincarnation. And a small group of Persians, they believed in reincarnation. And Jesus also talked about reincarnation when John the Baptist, he said that he is the reincarnation of Elias. He also talks about reincarnation, but the modern Christian doesn't believe in reincarnation. The modern Muslims, they don't believe in reincarnation except Sufis. So, but Jesus clearly says that actually the John Baptist is reincarnation of Elias. So, whatever this the Old Testament predicted and all this, that same person actually Elias only came to life as John. Jesus didn't preach renunciation that vigorously because the only disadvantage of preaching this reincarnation is this: man may grow complacent, right? Man may become lazy. Anyway, I have another birth. So if I will do, you may procrastinate, you may postpone your action. So they all said that this is the only birth you have. So make good use of this birth. So we have, in our Shastras also they told that human birth is very rare and the rarest of the gift. Having got such rare gift actually, you make good use of this. How to make good use of this? Long for God, long for truth, that they said, but we don't pay much attention to those teachings. And because probably Jesus has learned from our example that because of preaching, too much preaching of this reincarnation, probably, okay, we have procrastination, we are postponing, okay, spiritual sadhana for next birth. There is such a tendency in human beings, right, to procrastinate, to postpone, to prevent that this is the only birth you have. So actually, long for God, seek truth, seek truth, seek truth. Probably for that reason, he didn't emphasize much on reincarnation, but he did believe in it. But the modern Christians, they don't believe in it, and also Mohammedan, they don't believe in reincarnation. But reincarnation is a fact. This is one of the last pillar on which the Sanatana Dharma or Hinduism is based. So this much for today. Let us meditate for just 2 minutes before we disperse. Ooh.